My name is Marin Hale, I'm 31, and the only thing louder than the ocean the day my life changed was the silence that followed it. I live in a city that sells noise as a lifestyle. Mornings used to be my hiding place. Gym at 7, coffee at 8, laptop open at 9, a rhythm I could trust. My boyfriend, Reed Calder, 29, marketing, the kind of title that looks great on LinkedIn and says nothing at all, called it boring stability. Funny how boring is the thing you miss when your chest feels like a kicked-in door. 3 weeks before he flew to Hawaii, our one-bedroom had turned into a pre-game locker room for men who confuse volume with charisma. Adam and Tyler sprawled on our couch debating board shorts like it was geopolitics. Every time I crossed the room to grab a charger or water, Adam would grin and say, "You sure you'll survive without Reed's leadership?" Tyler would add, "Marin's fine. She'll alphabetize the kitchen and fall in love with a label maker." I smiled, because arguing with boys who need a laugh track never pays. "At least when I organize something, it stays organized," I said once. They laughed louder. It didn't sting. It just measured the distance between us. The night before his flight, Reed paced while shoveling clothes into a suitcase like chaos could pack itself. "Can I use your card for emergencies?" he asked without looking up. "What kind of emergencies?" I asked without looking away from my calendar. "You know, flight changes, random holds, if my debit flips out." I didn't love it. I handed him the card anyway. "Don't go wild." He kissed my cheek like a man late to a meeting. "Relax, Hale. I'm not an idiot." The apartment felt instantly bigger when the door clicked shut. I dropped him at the airport at dawn, watched him join a river of people who think leaving is a personality trait, then drove home through streets that hadn't woken up yet. By lunch, he was a filtered story. Palm trees, horizon, hashtags. On day 2, he called for the Netflix password for The Guys. I sent it. He hung up before saying thanks. That night, he posted a boat shot. Sun, spray, the edge of a woman's straw hat, just barely in frame. Caption: "Freedom looks good on everyone." Comments: fire emojis and king behavior from the chorus. I didn't comment. I washed my one coffee mug and set it to dry. You can learn a lot about a life from its dish rack. Day 3 at 8:41 p.m., my phone buzzed. The message was a memo in human skin. "I've been thinking a lot since I got here. I feel like we've been different for a while. Maybe it's time we both see what else is out there. We can talk when I'm back." I read it twice. It wasn't cruel. It was worse. Efficient. An exit interview without eye contact. I didn't throw anything. Didn't even pace. I set the phone face down, opened a blank note, and wrote 3 lines like a spell. "Cancel lease renewal. Move my stuff out. Don't wait for him to decide." I looked around our place. Herbed candles I never lit because they gave me headaches, prints he bought because blank walls are a cry for help, a mirror that made the room look bigger and me look smaller. My books were in a stack beside the couch like they were visiting. His sneakers lived in a pile like they were a lifestyle. He wanted space. I could measure it to the inch. I finished my tea and went to bed with my jaw unclenched. That was the first miracle. Morning brought the second. I checked my bank app out of habit and felt something slip every rib. The number was wrong. 5,000 wrong. 3 charges in Waikiki within a 90-minute span. A luxury spa, a jewelry boutique, and a private seaside dinner. The kind of itinerary you book when emergency means, "I like shiny things." My card, his hands, someone else's night. I called the bank. The woman on the line sounded like she'd already seen 10 of me this morning. "We can open a fraud report, Ms. Hale." "Yes," I said, "please." When we hung up, I created a folder on my desktop and named it Proof. Screenshotted the transactions, saved the case number email, opened a doc and started a log. Date, time, amount, merchant, price, location. Because if you don't shape the story, someone else will. At 9 sharp, I called our landlord, Paul. "Hi, it's Maran from 3B. I won't be renewing. I'll vacate before month's end." A beat. "Everything okay?" "Plans changed," I said. He didn't need the long version. "Understood. I'll send the notice." I made a checklist. Box my things. Box his separately. Photos of every room. Labels. Inventory sheet. Keys. I started with the closet. My side, then his. People think heartbreak looks like sobbing on the floor. Sometimes it looks like folding shirts so neatly your hands stop shaking. When I reached his vanity drawer, yes, vanity, Reed called it skincare. I called it a hobby. Buried under a thicket of serums was a white envelope. Mom in his handwriting. I didn't open it. I held it for a breath, slid it into a new envelope, addressed it to Elaine Calder, and added a sticky note. Figured this belongs with family. I'd mail it with the rest. Returning things is a kind of prayer. I took time-stamped photos of every room, even vacuumed under the bed, not because he deserved it, because evidence deserves oxygen. At 2:17 p.m., an email pinged. Calder Marketing Group, his company. A compliance officer asking me to confirm a resort booking routed through their corporate travel portal with my card attached. The auto-filled name and number matched my profile. My chest went cold. I replied, "Not authorized. Fraud case open. Attached. Receipts. Timestamps. Bank case number." I didn't need revenge. Systems were already humming. A machine will eat a lie more cleanly than a person ever will. At 3, someone knocked. I half expected Paul. It was Mrs. Tran from next door, clutching a cat carrier like a conversation starter. "Oh dear," she breathed, trying to peek inside. "Are you two moving?" "Just me," I said. "Oh no, did something happen?" "He went to Hawaii," I answered. It was technically true. She frowned like I'd replied in riddle, then placed a gentle hand on my arm. Some people need a long road to learn short lessons. When she left, the apartment hummed with a sound I hadn't heard in months. Nothing. No music bleeding from his bathroom, no speakerphone shout laughs, just the AC and my heartbeat finally keeping time. By evening, I'd stacked 8 boxes along the wall, 4 mine, 4 his, each labeled in thick marker. I printed an inventory and taped it to the top one like a receipt for the past. I took a photo of the half-empty living room, a stripe of late sun cutting the floor into before and after, and posted it to my private feed with one line. Some doors close themselves. No names, no drama. Silence is its own grammar. The phone buzzed with a handful of hearts and a single DM. "You okay?" I let it sit unanswered, then shut the screen off and breathed. Somewhere across the Pacific, a boy was toasting his future to the sound of waves and girls who cheer for men who don't clap for them back. He thinks freedom is a horizon. He doesn't know it's a clean bank ledger and a locked door. At 11:08 p.m., my phone lit again. Unknown number. Then another, and another, like a slot machine of consequences warming up. I turned it face down. Tomorrow had its own spine. I fell asleep to a city that didn't care about me one way or another, which is the kindest thing a city can be. The morning after the boxes, I woke before my alarm, heart steady for once. I made coffee like a ritual, scoop, pour, bloom, and opened proof. If grief is a fog, documentation is high beams. At 7:12 a.m., the bank investigator, Kay Moreno, replied to my case. "We've flagged 3 Waikiki transactions. Please confirm possession status of your card." I typed, "Card in boyfriend's wallet for emergency use." I did not authorize. Attach the screenshot of Reed's text asking for it. Attach the outbound call log to the bank. Attached a photo of the card tucked into his passport sleeve I'd taken before he left. Time-stamped. I hadn't known why I took it then. My spine had. By 7:40, Calder Marketing Group pinged again, this time from HR compliance. Subject: corporate travel inquiry, urgent. The email was polite to the point of surgical. Ms. Hale, a reservation at Moana Palms Resort was processed via our corporate portal under a profile that auto-filled your name and phone number from the attached card. Please confirm whether you A. authorize the use, B. are an employee/contractor, or C. believe this is fraudulent. Compliance and risk, CMG. I answered with the steadiness of a witness, not an employee/contractor. Did not authorize. Fraud case numéro attached. Merchant receipts attached. Photos attached. At the end, I wrote a single line. Happy to answer further questions via counsel. Not a threat, a boundary. I mailed the envelope to Elaine Calder on my way out. The mailbox clanged shut like a period. On the 3rd floor landing, I ran into Victor, the retired paramedic at the end of the hall, out early with his gray mastiff, Hank. He took me in with that quiet triage look people get when they've stood in a lot of doorways between chaos and aftermath. "Moving day?" he asked. Moving month, I said. I'm just getting ahead of it. He nodded, eyes flicking to the careful rows of boxes I'd labeled the night before. Looks like you're outpacing it. I don't know why I told him. Maybe because he never asked for gossip like currency. He took my card to Hawaii for emergencies, and the emergency turned out to be a spa, a necklace, and dinner for two. Victor let out a breath that wasn't quite a laugh. People confuse luxury with medicine when the ache is inside their head. He squeezed Hank's leash, gentle. Document first, feel later. It's not cold, it's oxygen. I'm trying. You're doing, he corrected. Trying's what they say on the way to breaking the same thing twice. Back inside, the apartment echoed. I started narrating to myself to drown the echo. Item, action, place, as if I were logging a scene. Bedroom, my books, box M1. Sheets, M2. Lamp, M3. Photos taken. Bathroom, his cologne, R4. Razor, R5. Unopened subscription skincare, R6. Photos taken. Kitchen, my cast iron, M7. His air fryer we never used. Bachelor TV dinner but make it 2024, R7. Photos taken. I printed labels so bold the marker bled a little. Read, closet A. Read, shoes. Read, vanity. Read, bathroom. If he wanted space, I'd map it like a city grid. At 10:03, Adam texted from an unknown number. I'd muted the thread after the boat stories. Bro, what's with the cryptic post? You good? I stared at the bro and felt something brittle in me go soft instead of snapping. I'm fine, I typed. Please contact Reed for details. Sent. Blocked. A second later, a DM from a handle I didn't recognize. Lucia. Ren liked your photo. The profile picture was a sunlit grin and a straw hat, the same hat brim I'd clocked in Reed's boat shot. I tapped through to the profile. Lucia Wren, travel creator, 312K followers. A grid of beaches and infinity pools, captions about healing and hustle. The most recent story was a boomerang of tiki glasses clinking. The overlay text read, "Flows find their level." People were replying flame emojis like this was philosophy. My skin prickled, not from jealousy, but from pattern recognition. I closed the app and renamed a sticky on my desktop. Names to remember. Lucia Wren. At noon, I answered a few work emails from my actual job, a sliver of ordinary I clung to like a curb in floodwater. By 1, I'd moved my boxes to a short-term sublet across town, a narrow studio with sunlight and honest floors, no gallery wall of someone else's quotes, no performative plants, just a window that opened when I asked. When I came back for the rest, a new email waited from HR compliance. Thank you for your swift response. We will handle internally. Please preserve any documentation you may have related to the aforementioned charges or communications. Preserve, as if I were curating a museum to a version of us that had never actually existed. At 3:26, Mrs. Tran returned, cat now dozing in the carrier. She set a Tupperware on my counter like she'd been waiting for me to come back. I made extra dumplings, as she said, eyes kind. Eat before you keep working. People faint when they pack. I sat on the floor and ate a dumpling that tasted like someone else remembered to care about me. Thank you, I said, and meant the whole sentence. She peered at my labels. You wrote his name on everything. It's so there's no confusion later. She nodded at the inventory list taped to the top box. Confusion doesn't like paperwork. At dusk, my phone buzzed again. Kay Moreno from the bank had pushed an update. One of the disputed transactions, the resort booking, came through via Calder Marketing's corporate portal with my card details. We have notified the CAD present merchant and the company portal administrator. Please expect follow-up. The system had tugged the thread. I pictured Reed returning to the resort desk in board shorts to find a polite smile and a printed note. See the manager. I stacked his last box by the door. Reed, MESC. Loose cables, cufflinks, coins. On the bottom of the drawer, I found a tiny brass turtle keychain my mother had handed him at Christmas after 2 glasses of wine. For luck when you travel. He'd laughed, pocketed it, and left it in a place Dust could find it first. I put it in the box. Not cruel, just accurate. My phone lit up with a new post notification. At Ren, Lucia again. This time, a carousel. Sunset. Feet on a railing. a caption about closing chapters to hear the ocean better. I swiped. Photo 2, a table for two at a cliffside restaurant, a tan forearm with a thin leather bracelet I knew too well resting on the linen. The bracelet I'd bought Reed from a street vendor on our second summer together because he'd said, "I want to remember to keep it simple." In the comments, someone wrote, "Which island?" Lucia replied with a wave emoji and a heart. No island, no names, just breadcrumbs for people who like playing detective on strangers' lives. I didn't like it, didn't screenshot it, didn't send it to anyone. I just reopened proof and added a new line to the log, 3:54 p.m. Lucia Wren post suggests dinner for two, bracelet identifiable. Then I closed the laptop. Evidence is for courtrooms and conversations you can't avoid. Tonight, I could. My phone rang at 7:02. Paul. "Quick thing," he said. "Got your notice. All good. When you're ready for the walkthrough, I'll meet you. Also, Reed called the office, asked if we'd block your move out until he's back." He coughed, embarrassed on my behalf. I told him we don't get between adults and their boxes. "Thanks," I said. "If he shows up, I'd prefer security. Or you." "You'll get me," he said, warm, "and I'll bring a checklist. Checklists save lives." I slept on a camping mat that night, in a room that didn't belong to me anymore, back against the wall, feet toward the window, like I'd once read you should in earthquakes. Outside, something sirened, then passed. Inside, the air finally remembered how to be quiet. At 1:13 a.m., my phone vibrated on the floor, a number I didn't know. I let it go to voicemail. Then another, the fourth time I answered, because repetition is its own message. Silence, then distant music, then his voice, varnished with alcohol and victory. "Hail," Reed drawled, like we were on a porch and not on separate continents. "Your little cryptic post? Real mature." Laughter in the background. Male. Performative. "You packing my stuff? Cute. Keep your hands off the leather jacket, though. That's Saint Laurent." "I labeled everything with your name," I said, voice even. "It's by the door." "You can't just move out. We need to talk when I'm back." "You said we should see other people." "I said maybe," he snapped, drunk getting thinner. "You always make everything extreme." There was a muffled voice on his end, bright and feminine, a giggle. He covered the receiver and failed. "Who's that?" I asked. I shouldn't have. I was tired. "No one," he said. Then, lower to someone else. 2 secs. Back to me. "Compliance emailed you, right? You'll tell them you approved the card. We'll square it when I'm back." "No," I said. "Marin," he softened, flipping to a register that used to make me forgive things I shouldn't. "Don't be dramatic. It's just money." "Then pay it," I said. He exhaled like I'd failed his test. "You're punishing me because you're scared to move on." "I did move," I said. "You're the one still calling." A pause, a change in the air. He lowered his voice. "You should be careful about posting. People think you're unwell." "I didn't post you," I said. "I don't need to." Silence. Music. A woman's laugh again, closer to the mic. Then Reed's final play. A sigh that sounded like a door closing on my side, not his. "This is why Lucia said..." He cut himself off, but the sentence lived. "This is why Lucia said what?" I asked. "Nothing," he said too quickly. "I'll be home in 3. Don't touch my jacket." The call ended. I stared at the ceiling in the dark, counting the hairline fissures in the paint. Lucia said, "Of course she did. The hat brim, the clinks, the captions. The ocean doesn't confess. People do when they need to be heard more than they need to be safe." I rolled onto my side and pulled my hoodie up over my ears, like I could swaddle my own head quiet. Somewhere across a time zone, my card was asleep in someone else's wallet. Somewhere else, an HR inbox was filling like a tide. In my chest, something unhooked. Morning was coming anyway. 3 days later, the lock turned. I was on the floor, coiling power cords and wrapping them in rubber bands when I heard the scrape of a key that no longer belonged to him. Reed stepped inside like he owned the air, sunglasses perched on his head, tan lines across his collarbone, suitcase wheels rattling behind him. He froze when he saw the boxes. "What the hell is this?" he said, voice sharp but tired. The kind of tone people use when they're not sure if they should shout or charm. Your stuff, I said evenly. You said you needed space. I made some. He blinked once, like that didn't compute. Then he laughed, the kind of brittle laugh that hides a bruise. You're serious? You actually moved out? You told me we should see other people read. That was a conversation starter, Marin, he said, dragging his suitcase inside. You always twist things to sound worse. No, I just repeat them with punctuation. He ran a hand through his hair, pacing between the boxes like they were landmines. Do you know how crazy this looks? You boxed up my stuff while I was gone? You ended things while you were gone, I said. That text wasn't final, he snapped. I said we could talk when I got home. You made a whole breakup out of it. You wrote, we should see other people. I crossed my arms. I'm just doing my part. He dropped his duffel bag, jaw tightening. You embarrass me. Everyone's been messaging me. What's with your some doors close themselves post? What's that supposed to mean? It means exactly what it says. He scoffed. You're making me look like a villain. You're doing that just fine on your own. For a moment, the mask cracked. His eyes flicked to the labels on each box, the careful handwriting, the inventory sheet taped to the top. You labeled them? He muttered, disbelief turning to disgust. God, you're unhinged. Organized, I said. He opened one box, pulled out a shirt, then tossed it back in like he could undo the neatness by force. You've lost it. Seriously, you always overreact. Funny, I said. Your HR department didn't sound like they thought I was overreacting. He froze. What? They emailed me, I said, about the resort booking, the one made with my card. The color drained from his face. What did you tell them? The truth. His jaw flexed. You have no idea what you've done. I know exactly what I've done, I said quietly. For a second, he stood there, breathing hard. Then his voice dropped low, calculated. If you cared about me at all, you'd clear this up. It was a mistake. Then you can explain that to HR, I said. He stepped closer, anger simmering beneath the practiced calm. You're going to regret this. You think this is power? You think being spiteful makes you right? I think being honest makes me free. He stared at me, chest rising and falling, then grabbed one of the boxes labeled Read, Closet, and slammed it shut. You're unbelievable, he hissed. You ruined everything. No, I said. You just ran out of places to hide it. He stormed out without another word, the door slamming so hard the echo shook dust from the blinds. The silence afterward was heavy, not peaceful yet, just stunned. I sat on the floor for a long time, staring at the spot where his suitcase had been, trying to convince myself that this was real. Then my laptop pinged. Subject, corporate expense audit. Follow-up required. I opened it. Dear Ms. Hale, thank you for your cooperation. Please note that the internal compliance team has initiated a formal review regarding the misuse of company resources. Should you be contacted further, you are under no obligation to respond. Calder Marketing Group, Legal Affairs. I leaned back in my chair and exhaled. The gears were moving, quietly, methodically, without me lifting another finger. By morning, the story had already shifted online. Reed's friends, the ones who'd spent weeks laughing at my alphabetized life, were posting vague quotes on social media. A real man keeps things private. People love to twist a narrative when they're bitter. They didn't name me. They didn't have to. And I didn't reply. I'd learned long ago that silence, in the right hands, was a weapon sharper than any word. 2 nights later, my phone buzzed with a message from a name I didn't expect. Tara, one of Reed's coworkers. Quiet, polite, the kind of person who always apologized before speaking in meetings. Hey, Marin, this might sound weird, but can we talk? Maybe coffee? Not taking sides. I just think you should know something. I hesitated, fingers hovering over the keyboard. Then I typed, Sure, tomorrow? The next day, the cafe smelled like espresso and rain. I got there early, ordered black coffee, and sat by the window. Tara arrived 10 minutes late, hair tucked under a hood, eyes darting around like she didn't want to be seen. Thanks for coming, she said, sliding into the seat. I don't want this to get twisted. It won't, I said. Start wherever you need to. She took a deep breath. You got that text about seeing other people, right? I nodded. Well, he already did, in Hawaii. The words landed like a quiet bell. Not loud, but clear. With who? I asked, even though I already knew the answer. She glanced down at her coffee. Lucia Wren. The name hit like a confirmation I didn't want. Wait, I said slowly. The travel influencer? Yeah, they met the first night. Reed told us she was his ex, said they were just catching up. Then, well, everyone saw what happened. I didn't interrupt, I just let her talk. They got close, real close. And then, after a few days, Lucia started posting. You know, her usual cryptic captions. He didn't even hide it. When we got back, the rest of the team found out because her stories were tagged near the company resort. Tara looked at me, guilt all over her face. He bragged about using the company portal for the booking, said nobody would catch it. I sipped my coffee. Looks like somebody did. She nodded. HR called him in today. He's suspended pending review. For a moment, I said nothing. Then, good. Tara's eyes softened. I'm sorry, Marin. I didn't want you to think you were crazy. I never did, I said. But thank you for confirming it. That night, I lay in bed and watched the city lights crawl across my ceiling. I should have felt triumphant. I didn't. Because beneath the calm, something still ached. Not for him, but for the time I wasted believing that reasonable people tell the truth when you ask them to. They don't. They tell the story that lets them sleep. The next morning, my phone buzzed with a new email notification. Chargeback approved. Temporary credit issued. Underneath it, another one. Notice of investigation. Calder Marketing Group. I smiled, just once, then closed my laptop. The quiet was starting to sound like peace. It started small, like a ripple in a pond I hadn't realized was deep. That evening, while scrolling through my feed, I saw Lucia Wren trending. Not on her travel account, but on gossip pages that feed off scandal like it's breakfast. One post read, "Influencer romance exposed, luxury trip receipts under investigation. Sources say corporate funds were used for a personal getaway." The thumbnail photo was grainy, but I recognized it instantly. That cliffside dinner, that leather bracelet, that glass of champagne. Reed's bracelet, my card, her camera. It was the unholy trinity of arrogance, vanity, entitlement, and Wi-Fi. The next morning, my inbox exploded. First, an email from the bank investigator. Ms. Hale, one of the disputed merchants has submitted documentation including a signed receipt. Signature appears to match Mr. Calder's. We've confirmed the charges were made in person using your card details. Your fraud case will remain active pending full investigation. Attached was a photo of the receipt. His signature, unmistakable. Right beside it, a blurry reflection of a woman's face in the counter glass. Lucia, smiling. Proof, poetic and damning, captured in the most mundane way imaginable. Later that day, Tara called again. Her voice was low, rushed. Marin, you might want to stay off social for a bit. Why? Lucia posted a story. It's a lot. I opened the app and saw it. A slow-motion clip of her walking down a beach at sunset. Eyes glassy, voice overlaid in soft reverb. Sometimes you meet people who feel like home, but they belong to someone else's address. The caption, "You can't break what was already cracked." In the corner of the frame, a man's silhouette, tall, familiar, and undeniably reads, walked just ahead of her. The comments section was chaos. Some fans defended her. She deserves happiness. Others were ruthless. So she's the reason someone's card got drained? And then came the kicker. Calder Marketing Group's official account commented, "Please contact our compliance department directly." Within minutes, the story vanished. By that evening, every gossip thread was aflame. Influencer affair costs exec his job? Company funds used for island romance? Fraud, fame, and fallout. Meet the marketing couple that broke the internet. My phone buzzed with texts I didn't open. Mutual acquaintances wanting my side. Strangers tagging me under threads like I was part of a show. I muted it all. Because for once, the truth didn't need my defense. It had witnesses. At 9:07 p.m., my phone rang again. Not Reed, not Tara. A new name, Elaine Calder. His mother. For a moment, I just stared at the screen, debating whether to answer. Then I picked up. Hello? Marin. Her voice was steady, older, but not cold. I got your envelope. I swallowed. I thought it should go back to you. It was kind of you to send it, she said softly. He's always been careless with what matters. There was a pause, long enough to feel like she was choosing her next words carefully. I saw the news today, she continued. I'm sorry you had to go through that publicly. I didn't know what to say. He'll try to make it your fault, she said quietly. Don't let him. Reed's father was the same, always convinced that the person who left was crueler than the one who betrayed. I exhaled. Thank you for saying that. You handled it with grace, she said. Don't lose that now. When we hung up, I added her voicemail to the proof folder. Not out of spite, out of symmetry. Every story deserved its evidence. The next morning, Calder Marketing Group released a public statement. Effective immediately, Reed Calder has been placed on administrative leave pending review of company policy violations. The organization takes financial integrity seriously and will continue to cooperate fully with banking partners. The press translated that into one line: he's suspended. And social media did what it does best: turned him into a cautionary meme. Screenshots of Lucia's captions were reposted under headlines like, "Manifestation Gone Wrong." Someone even edited together a side-by-side video. Reed's old motivational clips about trust and teamwork, overlaid with Lucia's beach confession. The internet has a wicked sense of irony. By sunset, a new email appeared in my inbox, from HR Compliance again. Ms. Hale, the internal review, confirms misuse of company funds unrelated to approved business activity. We appreciate your cooperation and can confirm your personal account will be fully reimbursed. I read it twice, then closed my laptop. That was it. The loop had closed. Around midnight, my phone buzzed again. I thought it might be the investigator with a final update. It wasn't. It was Reed. He sounded wrecked, slurred words, anger hiding under exhaustion. "You think you won, don't you?" he said. "They fired me. You ruined everything." "I didn't ruin anything," I said calmly. "You did that yourself." "You could have fixed it," he said, voice rising. "You could have said it was a mistake." "It wasn't a mistake. You signed for it. There's a difference." He let out a harsh laugh. "You think anyone's on your side? They'll forget you by tomorrow. Lucia's already posting about redemption arcs." "I'm not looking for sides," I said. "I'm looking for peace." "You'll regret this, Marin." "Maybe," I said, "but at least I'll regret it quietly." He hung up. I stared at my reflection in the dark window. My own eyes looked back, tired, steady, and, for the first time in years, certain. Tomorrow, I decided, I'd mail the last set of keys, delete the shared accounts, and be done. But before bed, I opened proof one last time and added a final line to the log. 12:42 a.m. Truth documented. Lies exhausted. Case closed. Then I shut the laptop, turned off the light, and let the silence hold me. By the next morning, I didn't have to touch a thing. The world had already done it for me. It started with a single repost. A short clip from a jewelry boutique's security feed that had somehow leaked online. Reed, signing the receipt. Lucia, beside him, laughing. My card visible on the counter. The caption said, "So that's how emergencies look, huh?" The comments section turned vicious fast. "Using your girlfriend's card for your side piece? Disgusting. Imagine losing your job and your dignity in 4K. Lucia really said influencer, not influence with ethics. By noon, Caldergate was trending. I didn't post, I didn't like, I didn't reply. But the universe has a funny way of sending its receipts. At 2:07 p.m., my phone buzzed. Email from the bank. "Case closed. Refund issued. Thank you for your cooperation, Ms. Hale." Attached was the confirmation. My balance restored. No victory dance, no fireworks. Just quiet arithmetic and closure that fit in a PDF. A few minutes later, another message pinged. This time from an unknown address. Subject, "You're a snake." The body was 3 lines. "You think this is over? You embarrassed me in front of everyone. You'll regret ever meeting me." No signature, but I didn't need one. The tone reeked of Reed. Self-pity dressed as threat. I forwarded it straight to my lawyer. He wrote back within the hour. Handled. Cease and desist sent. Don't respond. I didn't. By the next day, Lucia's downfall had officially begun. Her followers dropped by the thousands. Brand partnerships paused for review. She posted an apology video, the kind where tears glisten without smudging mascara, insisting she had no idea he was still in a relationship. The comments didn't buy it. "You tagged him in your story." "Sis, his girlfriend's name was literally on the card." "Girl, be serious." By evening, she deleted the post and locked her account. Reed, meanwhile, went completely silent. No statements, no stories, no bravado. Just digital ghosts where his confidence used to live. And in that stillness, something shifted. The narrative flipped. People who'd once DM'd me to ask, "Are you okay?" now wrote, "You were right to walk away." I didn't reply to those either. Validation is nice. Peace is better. That Friday, Paul met me for the final walkthrough. He scanned the apartment clipboard in hand, whistling low. "You really left this place spotless. Most people don't even dust when they move out." "Paper trail," I said. "I like clean endings." He chuckled. "Whatever happened, kid, you handled it better than most." "Thank you." He signed the release form, handed me the copy. "Deposit'll hit your account by Monday." I nodded, then gave him the spare key. He paused, then frowned. You might want to know. Your ex tried to stop by earlier. Did he? Yeah, security told him he's not allowed without your permission. He threw a fit, then left. I let out a slow breath. Good. Paul gave me a sympathetic look. You did the right thing. Don't second guess it later. I won't, I said, and for once I meant it. That night, the world found a new villain. A gossip account posted leaked HR documents confirming Reed's termination due to breach of conduct. Within hours, a new wave of comments rolled in. Career speedrun, executive to unemployed in 72 hours. Hope that spa was worth it. Justice for Marin. I didn't save the posts. I didn't need souvenirs of justice. Instead, I opened my curtains, let the city light pour across my new apartment, and sat on the floor with my dinner. Takeout noodles and ginger tea. No wine, no noise, just breathing. My phone buzzed once more, a text from Elaine. I heard about the investigation. I wanted you to know. You did the right thing. Thank you for not being cruel. I stared at the screen for a long time before replying. I didn't need revenge, just distance. Her response came instantly. Distance is the rarest kind of mercy. 3 weeks later, everything settled. The refund cleared, the deposit returned, the lease officially closed. I sold the extra furniture online, gave half to charity, and kept the basics. Bed, desk, lamp, kettle. Then I did one last thing. I went to a rescue shelter on the edge of town and met a golden retriever named Apollo. He'd been abandoned when his owners moved. The volunteer said softly, "He still waits by the door sometimes." I knelt, let him sniff my hand, and whispered, "Yeah, I know the feeling." When he leaned against my leg, I took that as his answer. I signed the adoption papers, clipped on his leash, and walked him out into the sunlight. For the first time in months, the world didn't feel heavy. It felt wide. We stopped at the park on the way home. Apollo chased pigeons. I watched the clouds drift like nothing owed me an explanation. By the time we got back, my phone had died, my inbox was quiet, and I didn't care. Because peace doesn't make noise. It just stays. 2 months later, everything felt like a new language. Slower, simpler, deliberate. My mornings started in the same way now. Coffee brewing. Apollo's paws thudding softly across the floor. The quiet hum of a city that didn't know my story and didn't need to. He'd grown since the day I brought him home. Still had that stubborn puppy energy, though. Tail always knocking into the furniture, eyes full of mischief. Sometimes I'd catch him sitting by the door with that same waiting look the shelter volunteer warned me about. I'd crouch down beside him and say, "You don't have to wait for anyone anymore. We're both staying." It always made him wag. Work was steady again. Better, even. Without the constant background noise of chaos, my focus came back sharper than ever. My team started noticing. Promotions followed. Raises. Recognition. It wasn't because I worked harder. It was because I wasn't wasting my energy explaining myself to someone who'd already decided not to listen. That realization felt like sunlight through fog. How much of myself I'd spent defending peace instead of living in it. One Friday evening, Victor, my neighbor from the old building, stopped by with takeout and 2 bottles of ginger soda. Apollo nearly tackled him at the door. "Guess he remembers me," Victor said, laughing. "He remembers everyone who doesn't yell," I said. We ate on the balcony as the skyline blinked to life. He asked, "You ever hear from him again?" I shook my head. "Not since the cease and desist." "Good," Victor said, leaning back. "Guys like that. They think silence is weakness. Never realize it's actually the loudest answer." I smiled. "Yeah, silence has better aim than anger." He laughed at that. "You should write that down." "I already did," I said. "In the Notes app, it's called Reminders Not to Text Back." He nearly spit out his drink laughing. The laughter faded into that easy, quiet people share when the worst is behind them. "Seriously," he said finally, "you're doing better." "I am," I said, "but I'm not chasing better anymore. Just peaceful." He nodded, like he understood completely. That weekend, I took Apollo hiking. The trail curved through pine trees and sunlight. The air smelled like rain on bark. Halfway up, I stopped to catch my breath, or maybe to let go of everything I still carried in small, invisible ways. I thought about the woman I used to be, the one who second-guessed every instinct, who mistook tolerance for love, who kept apologizing just to keep someone else calm. She didn't disappear. She just outgrew her usefulness. The version of me standing there now didn't need to win arguments. She just needed to know when to stop participating in them. 3 months later, a mutual friend messaged me out of the blue. "Hey, not to stir things, but have you seen Lucia's new post?" I hadn't. Curiosity won. I checked. She'd come back online, rebranded, predictably. A new account, all about healing, accountability, and growth. Her bio read, "Sometimes losing it all means finding who you are." She'd turned the scandal into a business model. Reed was nowhere to be seen. I didn't feel angry, or even smug, just detached, like watching someone else's rerun. Maybe she believed her own script now, maybe not. Either way, it wasn't my problem anymore. That night, I sat on the couch with Apollo's head in my lap and scrolled through my old folder one last time. Proof. Everything that had once felt so urgent. Screenshots, bank reports, emails, statements. It was all just digital dust now. I highlighted every file, hit delete, and when the system asked if I was sure, I clicked yes without hesitation. No more archives, no more evidence, just room. A week later, a storm rolled through, the kind that hums low before it breaks. I stood by the window, mug in hand, watching rain smear the glass. Apollo pressed against my leg. Somewhere out there, maybe Reed was rebuilding, or pretending to. Maybe Lucia had found her next redemption arc. But me? I'd found silence, and I'd learned to keep it. Now, 2 years later, my life doesn't look cinematic. It looks calm. I work. I walk Apollo every morning. Sometimes I cook dinner for friends and laugh until midnight. Sometimes I just sit by the window and breathe. There's no plot twist waiting around the corner, just a quiet kind of consistency that used to feel boring. Now it feels sacred. I haven't dated since, not because I'm afraid, but because peace is a hard act to follow. If love comes again, it'll have to knock softly and bring no chaos with it. Until then, it's just me and the dog and the sound of rain. And that's enough, because the truth is, I didn't win anything. I just stopped losing myself. And in this world, that's the rarest victory there is.